Probably the extended one.
Okay.
Okay. Here's to Doc Brown and his wonderful invention, the DeLorean. For sake. It's yummy, just like Mum used to make it.
As many of you know, I took a vacation recently, and for the most part I was able to disconnect from this crazy life that I call an occupation. My YouTube channel has been my full-time job for almost 3 years, and I love it. It's the first job I've truly really enjoyed doing. I like being my own boss, and the creative outlet this affords me is most satisfying. I'm very lucky to have all of you as my audience, and for the first time in my life, I actually feel like I'm doing something that's useful to other people. I've had nothing resembling a decent break in the entire time I've been doing this until I took that vacation 3 weeks ago. Now, it's not something I've spoken about often, but given the nature of the work that I do, I think it's important to discuss this. People in this anti-SJW, anti-feminism, skeptic, rationalist community of ours are dealing with very heavy, often depressing issues and trying to counter the far-left regressive narratives of the establishment. On the Regressive News on a weekly basis, I discuss stories that would make your teeth curl. Our beautiful Western world is being run into the ground by autocrats and tyrants, and the cultural and moral relativism of beta leftists is only further facilitating its downfall. The millennial generation has been infantilized beyond belief, filled with righteous indignation and an aggressive hair-trigger intolerance of ideas they disagree with. Many college-age kids are now being indoctrinated into Marxist ideologies and enraptured by identity politics. Add to this the rising level of censorship of conservative and dissident voices in the media, in universities and online, and you've got all the ingredients required to collapse a society in a few short decades. The fact that this job can be taken from us by a simple change of terms of service of a social platform is also a constant source of trepidation. It's heavy stuff, and realistically, no one person can make a difference here. When I began doing this job, I thought I'd simply talk about these problems, offer my opinions, and spend my time debunking bad ideas. I had no clue that the issues themselves would begin to take their toll on me mentally and emotionally. Being a video content creator is mostly a job of voluntary isolation. You spend an enormous amount of time alone, working from home, trying to make sense of all of this. My peers in this community are spread all over the world, and not physically in the same room as me, and considering what I do is so unusual as a profession, it can be difficult for friends and family to really understand. So here we are, individuals with internet connections, hoping our ideas can reach as many people as possible and create some thought-provoking conversations, perhaps change some minds. That's about as much as any of us can hope for. The frustration comes from realizing there's not an awful lot more one can do to make a difference. It can at times feel quite overwhelming. After all, we have no power here, we have no means to change the system. Hell, new hate speech laws could be introduced tomorrow to criminalize people who hold and express our views. So how have I learned to deal with all of this? Well, for starters, you need to remember that when you make your hobby your job, you no longer have a hobby. So you have to make sure you pick up a few. Secondly, I'm reminded of a quote from an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It was an episode called The Wish in the show's 3rd season. It takes place in a bleak, dystopian, nightmarish alternative universe where Buffy never came to Sunnydale and the vampires rule the town. Giles has a line that has always stuck with me. It's pretty simple, but for some reason, it's always held a personal resonance.
I have to believe in a better world.
I have to believe in a better world. I think it's a pretty memorable line. Now, of course, what a person considers to be a better world is a subjective thing, but I think it's fair to say my definition of a better world is a society concerned with individual human rights, personal autonomy, secularism, freedom, truth, empirical rationalism, and democracy, and the values of the Enlightenment. Instead, it seems we're slouching towards Orwell as we value collectivism and social engineering. So let's imagine that there's an infinite number of alternate universes out there. Maybe we happen to be in a pretty mediocre one, an average one, nothing special. Maybe this is, metaphorically speaking, the one where the vampires take over. What if there's a world out there where the EU was never formed, globalism never took a foothold, multiculturalism was never encouraged, and the West lived in relative isolation? Imagine 9/11 never taking place. Feminism and sexual liberation hadn't destroyed the nuclear family. Western cultures were thriving rather than slowly beginning to circle the drain. Now, I'm by no means saying this world of ours is a disaster area, but let's face it, we know how it could be a lot better. It does seem to be sliding towards the more bleak end of the spectrum. This quote from the video game Tesla Effect: A Tex Murphy Adventure is also quite poignant to me.
Paradise Lost is a poem about the great divide in heaven when Lucifer was cast out.
Well, debating hypothetical fairy tales is a little nerdy for me.
Look at the world around you. Did heaven win the battle? Man has created hell on earth. And the longer man exists, the further he descends from the wisdom and discernment needed to overcome the darkness. At his core, he is a grasping, clawing, foolish creature, willing to commit any sin to appease his base and greedy nature.
My point in all of this is that no matter how depressing and troubling the stories we cover on our channels in this community become, some of us are not interested in simply cataloguing the end of the free world. I can't stand it when people look at the world around them in a myopic and self-centered way by not bothering to engage in these conversations or dismissing the problems we face by saying, well, I'll probably be dead by the time things get really bad, so why should I care? As if your children and grandchildren won't suffer as a result of your inaction and apathy. The future belongs to those who show up for it. It's our duty to ensure that the future is the best it can be for our future generations. Having children gives you a stake in that future. Now, we can't go back in time and change things, but we can at least try to take some kind of small actions every day to make a difference for the future. Maybe that's nothing more than simply speaking about issues to friends and family that you feel like you should otherwise remain silent on. My point is that even as an atheist, my belief in a better world is effectively the closest thing I get to an act of faith. Hope is important, but it only becomes useful when it's followed by action. I have to believe in a better world. What else can I do?